Hello and welcome to Boardnail's Cult Rants, and on this video I will be reviewing the third episode of Jessica Jones Season 3, the Netflix show, and the episode is called I Have No Spleen. So, gonna get straight into the episode. Pretty much just one thing to say: thank you for all the new subscribers. I recently just passed the 50 subscribers mark, so thank you very much. I had a sort of a special live stream to celebrate the and it was a watch along of the Buffy episode The Witch from season 1, or Witch, sorry. It's a special live stream, my latest Buffy review, which is now up. It originally went up and was taken down because of Fox objecting, putting a copyright block on it, where clearly to anyone with common sense I did nothing wrong. So the video has been rightly restored and you can catch up with it now on the channel. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the third episode of Jessica Jones Season 3 today, as I said. And it's an interesting one. It feels like a bit of a come down after a very eventful first couple of episodes. I really feel like, although they weren't officially a two-parter, the first two episodes did work sort of as a two-parter, with obviously the perspectives switched to Trish in the second one. And yeah, generally I thought it was a strong start to the season and really intriguing moving forward. And this is episode 3. I think is very solid. There's certainly not much wrong with it. It just maybe feels like one where the plot's settling down a bit, and that it's obviously sort of setting things up, smaller things. It's getting a bit more into the case of the season, but at the same time, with certain bits and pieces, it does feel a little like dragging its heels. Not to such a point where I'm, zoning out or I was bored by it too much, but again, maybe just a slower one after the events of the first two. Because I actually rewatched the first two episodes with a couple of friends online, and they held up really well, actually. In fact, the first episode, which I was a bit more lukewarm on the first time round, I actually enjoyed more. And the second one, the Trish focused one, I again really enjoyed, as I had done the first time. So yeah, I think compared to those two, this is a lesser episode, but we do get more into the case and sort of some small character beats. I'll get into it. I mean, the strongest stuff is probably the stuff that comes from the episode title, and so that's the fact that at the end of the last episode, the sort of shock ending was Jessica being stabbed by a mystery man or woman, potentially, and obviously the mind races to who that could be. I mean, she was in the process of having what appears to be a one-night thing with Eric, a guy she met at the bar, and of course in classic Jessica Jones ways, it sort of appears there's going to be more to him than meets the eye. So, picking up on that, the title of the episode, I Have No Spleen, is referring to literally Jessica after the potentially fatal injuries is left without a spleen. It has to come out, and the point is made by the doctor in the episode that, if you didn't have these superhero sort of strengths, any other person without those powers would die and couldn't go on without a spleen, whereas Jessica Jones is able to get up from the hospital bed and carry on without a spleen. But no doubt the attack has left her with psychological and both physical scars, sorry, and she keeps having flashbacks to the incident at certain points throughout the episode, and it's sort of playing on her mind, and obviously she's trying to piece together who potentially it could be. And obviously at the end of the last episode, it was obviously the first one where she was stabbed at the end, and then the Trish episode flipped back in perspective, so we got the episode from her point of view. But Trish gave her the name of Brand, the one obviously Trish had been on the case on, and that was obviously Trish being a little naughty. Obviously, she wanted justice. She wanted this guy sort of fixed, sorted. So she obviously put Jessica on her trail. So a sneaky little tactic there from Trish. But yeah, a big part of this episode is about Jessica coping with the fallout. And at one point she discharges herself from hospital, and at one point ends up sort of back in hospital temporarily. But yeah, she starts tracking the guy Trish has put her onto, and Trish at the same time is tracking her, and we see their sort of dual investigations. And at this point, Jessica is still trying to discourage Trish, saying, you're in over your head. You don't have what it takes. And I think the series at this point is sort of building Jessica maybe as a bit more of a thoughtful, a bit more of a subtle investigator, let's say. I mean, she's always been street smart, but it's always been more about her instincts more. And yeah, I think we're starting to see her being a bit more cagey and a bit more less gun-ho, and at the same time she's sort of saying to Trish, this isn't really your life, you don't have the experience and that kind of thing. But obviously her and Trish, both in their own ways, are sort of ploughing on with the case. And later on, Jessica sort of finds out that it's not Brand, but she does. This guy does have a record. We know about him beating his sister, and yes, so he does have charges to face. So Jessica at the apartment, once she realizes it's not him, she still leaves him sort of tied up and trapped so that Trish can come along and pick him up, and so justice is sort of served on that one, and that's a nice little go between. And at the same time, Jessica is distancing herself from other people, and we see them sort of getting various leads and sort of working together, but there's this tension also. And I think that's mostly it for that side of the plot in this episode. So on the other sort of main plot, Hogarth is obviously trying to connect. She's obviously got this vested interest in this music academy, and we find out a bit more about that, and the fact that her former partner, in fact her high school lover, the character's called Kith, as in Kith, and played by Shanita Chadabourir, I believe you pronounce that, who's a very experienced actress, been in lots of films and TV shows. She was in Homeland, for example, and she plays Hogarth's ex-lover, her high school lover, who's the sort of head of this music academy, and she's basically set it up because of her her daughter dying from cancer. So Hogarth has been this secret backer for it, and yeah, it turns out that's her sort of ulterior motive, because Kif is like the head of it. And as I said, Malcolm is obviously working for Hogarth, so Hogarth sort of gets him to plant a bug in the office of Peter, who's the husband of Kif, of Hogarth's ex-lover. And so Malcolm tracks him. He pretends to be a student and sort of, talks to him in his office, but that's just so that he can set up the bug. And as the episode goes on, it's revealed then Peter is, kind of that stereotype, I guess, of the sort of middle class, highbrow teacher sort of sleeping with some of his students. But anyway, that's what we see in this episode. Hogarth is getting dirt on him, I'm assuming, to use to fracture their relationship. And we also see things go to a stage further with the ex-lovers, Hogarth and Kif share an intimate scene where Kif, who plays the cello, I believe, plays Hogarth a bit of music, and it's this beautifully intimate scene, really well shot, and it's this sort of dance in a way where Hogarth is the one pushing it at first, being quite flirtatious, and Kif is, she's being friendly, but she's resisting Hogarth's advances, essentially. But, as Kif is playing, Hogarth again is trying to seduce her a bit more, and it's sort of a back and forth where Kif is trying to resist, but eventually later she gives in, and at one point they're sort of kissing as she's still playing the cello, and it's actually a really beautiful scene, although I have sort of doubts over where this relationship is going, or if it really services the plot that much. It is an effective scene, and really well acted between the two. So obviously Malcolm is on the case of obviously digging dirt against her husband to use against him. And the other thing from Malcolm's point of view is that he's seeing I can't remember the character name, but the secretary for Hogarth in at the same firm, and Hogarth gets wind of their relationship. So she warns Malcolm about not letting out any details of the case, and not letting business mix with pleasure, essentially. She seems fine with him seeing the secretary or whatever her role is, but yeah, she sort of makes it clear not to cross the two, sort of thing. So that's the scene, and you get the impression there's going to be tension as things go along, because obviously Malcolm's girlfriend doesn't know exactly what is happening and what Hogarth has him doing. And so those are the two main plots of the episode, really. We see Jessica operating on drugs, operating without a spleen, and I think Christian Ritter does a fantastic job of selling that sort of torment and the physicality, and there's just something about her in the role. It fits like a glove. It's just sort of perfect casting. I think it's that thing of she has just enough attitude to just the right level of charisma without seeming too sort of colourful or anything, because obviously the character is very deadpan, and I think it's that balance, the fact it is a very cut off deadpan character. So I think the casting is just right, and I think Christian Ritter, who probably isn't the best actress in the world, but she's a good enough actress, and I think the casting is just perfect. You know, she has that mix of attitude, toughness in her, but also, yeah, she's very reserved, very deadpan as well. So it never really, there's never really an unbalance, and I think we really see that in this episode and the torment. And again, you know, I'm feeling the tension with her and Trish. It's played quite nicely. I mean, it'll be a test of the writing this season to see. You know, you can only go so long with them kind of both investigating the same case, but at a distance, and with them, you know, sort of bickering. I mean, that can only be interesting for so long. But so far, it's holding my attention, and yeah, it's becoming the mystery of the season. You know, who stabbed Jessica, essentially. And basically, we see Eric return, who's the name of the guy Jessica slept with. He returns at the end, and they have a funny little exchange, because obviously Jessica has found out that Brand isn't the guy. So there's this odd little slow motion effect as Eric approaches her, and I think leans in, from what I can remember, and sort of kisses her, and they have an intimate sort of moment, and Jessica again is all kind of still feeling the effects from the attack, and I think he makes some sort of comment to do with, you know, the attack and what have you. And I mean, although Eric at this point, he wasn't the one who did it, because he was in the apartment when the person appeared at the door, you sort of feel he could be involved somehow. So I think that's the suggestion as the episode ends. So we're obviously going to find out in the next episode. But yeah, it was a good end to the episode. I can't say much against the episode. I just thought it maybe dragged a little bit compared to the first two, but it was, I mean, as you can tell with shorter review, I didn't really have that much to say about it, whereas I had quite meaty discussions about the first two. But it was solid enough. I mean, it's you know, again, the case is bubbling along quite nicely. So far so good this season, I'd say, even though this was a slightly weaker episode. So that is Jessica Jones Season 3 Episode 3, I Have No Spleen. If you've seen the episode, which I'm assuming you have if you're listening to this video, then please leave comments below, say what you feel about it. How do you feel the season is progressing at the moment? And I should be back with another review soon. So for now, goodbye.